Welcome everyone. Welcome to the conversation with a seven-star coder, Vivek Gupta. It's really a pleasure to have you with us here today. So I just want to take a minute and introduce you to the speaker. Vivek is currently a software developer engineer at Google. He was also previously an intern at Google, and he has also done a research internship at Adobe. He was an ACM ICPC finalist for the year 2020. For those who don't know what ACM ICPC is, it's just an algorithmic programming contest for college students. He is currently a 7-star on CodeChef, and he is an international master on Codeforces. CodeChef and Codeforces are basically just competitive programming contest where you get to solve algorithmic questions. He was also a lead CP educator at AlgoZenith. So welcome, Vivek. It's a pleasure to have you with us, and thank you for giving us your time.
It's great to join you guys. Hi everyone. I hope I'm here and I'll be able to help you guys with your journey that you're going to be onboarded soon.
Yes, so without further ado, I'll just sort of tell you how the session is going to unroll. We have a few set of questions that we'll be asking Vivek and having a conversation on that, and in the end we'll also have a Q&A, and in that Q&A you can ask your questions. So how the things will work is that there is a Pigeonhole link that we also emailed you, and we'll again paste it in the chat box. You can anonymously ask your questions there, or even if you say you want to write your name and ask your question, feel free to do so. Feel free to shoot your questions, and there is no such thing as a wrong or a bad question, so just honestly ask your questions to the speaker. Yeah, I'll paste the link. We'll paste the link in the chat soon. So let's get started with the first question. Vivek, you have basically put your foot in ML, in web dev, in open source, and I believe that in Adobe, in your research internship, you did some NLP. You've obviously done competitive programming, and basically you have your foot everywhere. So how does something like this come into fruition? I mean, as a student, I just spend a lot of time in just getting confused that what to do, where to start, and whatnot. So my question is, how does something like this come into fruition?
Yeah, that's actually like a very good point, because like if you see so many things, you obviously think that okay, there's going to be a good amount of time required for all of them, and that's definitely true. So first thing that I should make myself clear on is that I'm not a like master of everything that has been written over here. I just am very good at CP most probably, and I'm okay in every other thing. So this kind of build I feel works really well for students. Like if you are kind of jack in everything, like you just know everything a bit and then you are good in something. So this is really a good build in at least Indian scenario. And personally, I feel that in college, this is the best time to kind of explore things up, right? Because most probably you're going to be joining an industry, and it's not like you cannot change later on as well. But still, if you can get the time and explore things up in your college life itself, it's going to be like a really fruitful stuff. So this is what my personal goal was. I did a lot of internship here and there so that I can get an exposure to different things. So that is why I was trying to do these things. And at like I think at the end, even like let's say like right now I'm not doing NLP or let's say web dev or stuff, but still whatever I've learned in them, it kind of helps me to talk to more people, just know this industry industry of those parts very well, and it overall helps me to build up a good knowledge base that can help me in future as well, right? So that's there.
Yeah, no, I agree. We should like know something of everything and everything of something, so to say. Yes, so yeah, moving on to the next question. So we also have a lot of beginners over here, including myself. So if you briefly put, what exactly is competitive programming, and what got you into competitive programming, and how did the journey start for you? What was your initial inspiration or motivation where you said, Kina yaar, I want to try this out, I want to do this?
Okay, so that's actually very interesting. So like first, if you guys don't know what competitive programming is, so understand that there is this particular topic which is algorithms and data structure. So it's like computer basics where you kind of program your computer to solve problems, and CP is essentially just using these logics that you have learned in algorithms data structure to solve some creative problem. So it's more like an engineering of this particular domain. So let's say you have a particular problem given in a time constraint manner, you have some scores and all in a particular competition, and you have to solve that question, and you have to use your knowledge of algorithms to solve it. That's it. So basically it's the practical part of kind of algorithms and data structures wherein you have to apply them to the problems. What got me into CP? So very honestly, it was pretty random. So after my so I came to know about CP just like scrolling through Quora, to be honest. Like I was just going through random questions, and I was just looking through what seniors in like computer science generally do. So what are different options are. So I was just reading through their blogs and like kind of their story. And I came across this term CP and then delve into it. And my journey started, like I started with doing some questions here and there on CodeChef and all. But to be honest, the main part where I started properly doing CP started after my first year in the summers. So the summers after the first year is a really good time where you have like 2 months. Like in my college, at least I have 2 months of gap properly. And in that particular gap, you have like all the time to yourself. You don't have any internships to do. You don't have any like commitments as such. So I didn't had anything else. So I just started doing CP and I started really enjoying it. So that's how I got into CP.
Right. So to a beginner, what would you say that how important is CP, right? What role does it play? How important is that?
So personally, like I feel CP is more like problem solving part. So if you are a person who really likes solving problems in general, so that is like this is a very good domain to explore. And like you can do CP for, let's say, a lot of different purposes. A lot of people do it just for the fun of solving. People do it to be better at algorithms and data structures. People do it for a lot of like interview purposes as well. So there are different reasons for different people. For me, it was more of like that joy from problem solving. So that's why I think that is there.
Right. No, I agree that you should have that joy. Otherwise, you're not going to be with it for a very long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay. So moving ahead. Yeah. So what problems did you face in your competitive programming journey? And, what other common problems you have seen people face? I believe that you were also a lead CP educator at Algo Zenith, where you taught students. So what was this problems that you saw, and, what solutions would you propose, or how did you sail through that entire sea?
So my CP journey was pretty long, to be honest. Like it was from the end of, as I said, from the end of first year, I started properly doing CP, and till the end of my third year, I was like almost giving majority of my time to CP only. So that was like my main go-to for my productive times, to be honest. And there are many different problems that you face during the journey. Like when you start, the first problem that you face is how to start. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Then a lot of like, even there are like problems where when you solve questions, you face that, okay, I'm not able to solve this, where to look up, how to ask someone. This is one more problem that people face, like how to get a guidance on if you're stuck at something. Then there are problems where there are psychological problems that sometimes CP is not very rewarding at the start. Like when you start, you're not winning anything, you're not getting any like kind of incentive, and still you have to keep on practicing stuff. So during that phase, you will have to keep on motivating yourself, and people psychologically have to understand that it's like a scenario where you get the reward very like late. So it's like you put in the effort, and then after that, after some time, you suddenly see a jump in your rating. So it's like you have to wait for that reward, and during that phase you have to stay strong. So that is like psychological barriers as well in CP. So there are a lot of such things. In fact, soon enough you are going to realize that when you're solving problem, you have to build speed. Then you realize that, okay, I don't really know enough algorithms and data structures, so maybe I need to do a proper theoretical course of computer science, which is algorithms and data structures. It's a proper theoretical course, so I need to know everything that is there in that particular course. And then you again go ahead and you realize that, okay, I now know these things, but now I sometimes feel that my observational skills are not really good. So how do I build my observational skills? Then you realize, fine, I now know these things, but there are so many proper ideas that are there in a particular topic. Let's say some random topic, geometry. So in geometry, I have proper techniques that are there that you need to know to solve problems. So you need to then delve into each of the topics, and like in a particular vertical manner, you have to complete that particular topic so that you know each and every technique that is there in that topic. So these are different problems that people see in general. Also, like when I used to teach at Algorithmics, so what I generally saw that people used to join, a lot of people had a main common goal as for internships and placements in general. So what I saw there as a problem is sometimes a bit of lack of motivation that is there, that is, as I told at the start. And then the other problem is that people sometimes fail to understand that you have to solve a bit medium and harder problem rather than just solving easy problems. A lot of people feel themselves to be comfortable in easy domain, and okay, I'm in this zone, it's fine. So the thing is, the main learning happens when you go outside your comfort zone, right? So that's the part where you have to kind of move towards and solve problems from. And then only you can like over time see that, okay, actually I'm building up more knowledge and I'm actually solving new questions. So that's how kind of like the journey begins and goes on. And soon enough, you're going to realize that, okay, now I've actually built a lot of knowledge. I can actually solve contests. I can actually win prizes. And then you start enjoying it a lot. So that's there.
No, I think this is very insightful, that it's a powerful psychological game that you have to persevere, and then you realize that we cannot create that happiness. It must ensue after the whole process is done. This is something that
So in fact, I can like talk about one particular point. So there is this particular thing, like there is this Chinese bamboo tree which is there, wherein like you have to you have to water it for 5 years, and then suddenly in 1 week it grows into like 6 feet tree. So that doesn't really mean that it grew up in that 1 week.
Right. Yes.
So you have to water it for that long. That's the thing. That's how CP works.
Right. That's basically have that endurance level. We have to build that. And do you feel that level of endurance or persistence will come through constant practice, or is it finding different sources or finding motivation in different sources?
So you should have a good reason that why you're doing it. So like a lot of people think that when I'm doing, so a lot of people generally start with CP, and then soon enough, like they're facing problems, and then they see that, okay, there is this open source, we can do some web dev also, we can do this also and this also. So there are a lot of things to explore, that's true. But what I personally feel is that whichever field you are going into, I'm not saying just CP, whichever field you are going into, give it a good amount of time, like 4 to 6 months of time to kind of see some changes, some improvement in you. Because if you give it for like, let's say 1 month also, I don't think that you're going to get any like instant improvement as so give it a time, dedicated time, and then finally see that at the like keep the evaluation checkpoint, keep your expectations after like, let's say 6 months or 1 year. So that should be the game. You should not be expecting that, okay, I solved one problem daily and I'm going to see improvement daily. That's not going to happen. My rating is not going to improve daily. That's the thing that you have to understand.
Yeah. So we should basically have a strong enough reason to do it for that level of consistency.
And keep your expectations a bit low. That's also
yeah. This was insightful. So moving on to the next question. Yeah. So what advice would you give to your youngers? Just a second. Yes. So what advice would you give to your younger self who is just starting out CP? I mean, let's say that you have just entered your second year college, and you said after your first year in the vacations, you properly started doing CP. So what is that one advice if you have to go back and tell your younger self that, Vivek, in cheezon ko aisa karna tha, what would that be?
So if I had to think about these things, the one thing that I would say is maybe get your typing speed a bit better. Like I don't really have a good typing speed. Sometimes that matter. Number one, like you can learn that very early if you can. The next thing that I would say is you can actually go ahead and learn algorithms as quicker as possible. So what I felt like, I started doing CP even in my first year a bit, but I did not know that what is actually required to solve the questions. I was just doing the questions and wasting time on the questions without actually having the knowledge that is required to solve it. So essentially just like research up a syllabus a bit, like what the questions are being created on, and then kind of solve the questions after that. So read the like theoretical course algorithm from any particular place. I think in your college also there is this course. It is like in every college if there is there, and even if you not, you can always go through like online material on these things. So you can do this particular thing, and then you would be much better off doing the thing. So that would like save a lot of time. That's the thing. So structurally going about these things structurally is very important, because like you can start in a structured way, like start learning with language, then learning STL, then solving some basic problems along with learning some algorithms course, theoretical course. Now when you're done with the theoretical course, then you can go into problems which are like in using those theoretical concepts. So doing it structurally saves a lot of time. That's what I've learned.
Kindly okay, yeah, no, I agree that we have to build a basic foundation and then move on. Otherwise, if we take a huge leap, then we are going to fall down.
Yeah, so I still remember, like in my first year, like I started with one of my friends. So we used to give some contest solving just one question and then realizing अब तो होना ही नहीं है इसके बाद, मतलब like और तो नहीं होना है इसके बाद. So like we were just for the sake of doing it, just solving problems and then nothing at all. So that
Right.
was a point where like that phase could have been used pretty well. Like we could have learned and then started solving.
And then started. Fair. And also not to go off topic, but like as you said in the beginning, I mentioned you have explored everything. So in accordance to that also, what advice would you give to a person who is just finished first year or second year, or is just getting on with things, that how should one sort of have that perspective that, okay, I'll also do this, and you know what I mean, that you've gotten your foot into everything.
So very honestly, things like this do happen randomly in life. Like very honestly, these things happen randomly. But if you want to plan out your exploration, what I would suggest is like start with any particular technical part. So since you're getting into this, like let's say software kind of thing, so you have web, so whatever fields we talked about, out of these, like you have options in ML, you have options in like CP, let's suppose, you have options, let's say, related to web dev and all. So try and explore everything. So in my starting year, I still remember I did this free code camp's web dev material and started up with a Django website at the very early stage. But I again forgot everything from that because I never used it in my practical, like any particular project after that. Then I did do that Andrew Ng's ML course just to get a hang of it, but that too was just like theoretical stuff, nothing, no application and all. So at that point in time, I did explore things, but they were like kind of not giving me much of an interest. But once I like started doing CP, I saw that like, okay, actually solving questions did give that adrenaline rush. So I was more into that. Like I was more, so it kind of resonated with my personality, and I kind of liked that really much. So that's why I think I could do CP for a very long time. And if that is some, like if you feel that you are kind of getting interest in solving questions, वो एक question accept हुआ अच्छा लग रहा है मेरे को, like innately like वो अच्छा आ रहा है ना, तो you can very well do CP for very long time. And even if not, then endure for at least 6 months and then try things out. If it is not working, then move to everything. At least in that 6 months, you will learn a lot in that particular field.
Right. No, so time and consistency is the key, that you have to give time to everything, whether whatever computer science branch or field that is, so to say.
Yeah, exactly. So like first and second years are like pretty much like very good time to explore these things. Like I think if you're in first year, that's like you can explore almost everything. Even if you're in second year, like this is the best time to kind of explore. After that, you start like getting into planning your career, getting into internships, placement, and all these things comes into mind. So you don't have time to explore like randomly. So that's there. So first, second years are really good for this.
Right. No, this is very, very valuable. So moving on to the next question. Yeah. So can you talk about your ICPC journey? Walk us through the process. How was everything from the very scratch to the world finals? I mean, where did it start?
So this, like after my first year summers, I did a lot of practice, and I was doing good in CodeChef on like some platforms. I was not really very good at that point in time, but I was doing pretty well compared to my batchmates since I started just after my first year. So what I did was I tried to I obviously knew about ICPC during that journey, and I definitely wanted to participate. And ICPC right now in COVID scenario, it has changed its time schedule and all, but usually it used to happen after autumn sem, like after the semester in December and all. So like my schedule was like, in my autumn sem, I am going to be focusing on my CP and all fully. And then in my spring sem, I'm going to do a lot of other stuff and do some CP contest, something like that. So during that particular phase, I like reached out to like one of my seniors, and I asked him that, okay, I'm doing good. You can see my CodeChef profile. So would you be interested in taking me in your team for ICPC? So since it's a team contest, you have 3 people in the team and then you participate. So I asked them if they would be willing to. So I joined that particular team. We practiced for long, but in my first attempt, I could not even clear the online round. Like in my college, like people solved more contest. Like in online rounds, what happens is there is a college level selection. So what happens is in my college, there were more teams who did better than us. So I did not even qualify at that point in time. So in ICPC, what happens is there is an online round, then you go to regionals, and then you go to world finals. There is an Asia finals, and then there is a world finals. So, so in the first attempt, I could not even make it to regionals. In the second one, I then found out that there are two batchmates of mine who are doing CP very dedicatedly. So I just reached out to them. We started hanging out and doing problems together. And I think this is also an interesting thing, that having someone sailing through along with you in the journey is really helpful, because if you have someone to discuss your like problems, like I still remember that phases where I used to have phases that I'm not able to solve questions in contest. I'm performing poor consistently. So I used to reach out, and my friend's name is Nitish. So I used to say, "Yaar, question nahi ho rahe yaar, ab mere ko chhodne ka man kar raha hai." So this is very usual. Like, I mean, it's not something new. So then he can console you that, okay, nahi yaar, tu karta hai kabhi achhe questions, and so on. Same goes for when he faces that, and then I go and talk to him, and this way you kind of continue with the journey. So this is also a really good thing that happened. So me, Nitish, Shubham then participated in the next year. We did go to the regionals that year and did perform well. Kind of in regionals, we did like around like between 10 to 20, 13, 15 rank. But that was not enough for world finals. And we realized that actually we have good strength. Like we were doing good questions up till medium hard. But that extra thing that is required to go to that world finals, like that kind of extra hard work or hard questions that needs to be solved, that kind of thing we lacked. Like we didn't really have that skill that point. So we were fine, and we knew that, okay, next year we have to practice again and kind of attempt for it again. So next 1 year was kind of not the whole year. Before the ICPC, at least 6 months was rigorous practice for those hard stuff. Like we used to split topics, we used to like practice a lot among ourselves. Like I still remember, so I was a person who used to wake up, who used to stay awake at night and then used to sleep in morning. So don't take my advice though, like do attend classes. But the thing is, I used to kind of practice throughout night and then go out on walk for at night once with the team, and then again discuss some contest questions and so on. So this is the regular schedule for a good amount of time before the winters. And then ICPC regionals happened. In that we did perform, like in one of the regions we came sixth, so that kind of eligible, that makes you eligible to participate in Asia finals. And then in that there are some slots that are there, how many slots goes to world finals. So we did came in that. So then our team was selected for world finals. And then recently, like I came back from world finals like kind of 2 weeks back. So due to COVID, it got postponed. So in 2020 it was there, but it happened recently in Moscow. So I came back from Moscow recently, and the experience was really enjoying. Like I think that, like if you finally reach to world finals, this all makes a lot of sense. Like all the hard work that I still remember, that there is a lot of hard work that you put in for world finals, and if you're practicing at that level, and finally when you reach there, you like kind of meet your idols like Gennady and all people who are like really good in competitive programming are there. You meet them, you kind of be in a room with all of them, and even like we did good, like we did perform better than what we expected from our team. So in world finals also, obviously like winning at that level is not really possible, to be honest, but we did perform well. So this all like kind of at the end, I feel it all makes sense. And it was like, I think ICPC is one like very interesting and like very nice journey to onboard on yourself and to, if you are in college. Like this is one of the journeys that you can kind of sign up for.
No, this is something very inspirational. And like, as you said, you just gave the world finals this year because it was postponed. So you went to the location of the world finals.
So it was in Moscow. It was in Moscow, Russia. So we went like we went there like 2-3 weeks back.
That's, I mean, how was the experience? How was the feeling to be in a world finals? I mean,
in fact, like the whole travel was in fact very interesting, because this was my first international travel, to be honest. So first of all, you get to travel, you get to like go to other country, number one. And number two, like the whole event was also conducted really well. The whole organization was really good. Though one thing that I would say is, if you're going abroad, don't really expect a good food. Like in India, we have good spices and all. When you're going outside, you don't really have a lot of spicy foods that we generally enjoy over here. So that's it.
But I think that's something you have to barter to meet.
So we were searching for Indian restaurants over there as well.
Yeah. No, I think this is very inspirational. And so what is one advice would you give beginners who are just starting out and they wish to attempt, or they wish to give ICPC? What is one thing that you would like to tell them?
So in ICPC, it's definitely that you have to build your own skills. That's very important. But apart from that, also I would suggest you to build a good team and build good team like dynamics. Like at least with my friends, like they're still my friends. They also taught alongside with me in Algorithm. They were also like they are also working in Google. Microsoft right now, and they are also like we do hang out on weekends sometimes, play some random games sometimes, and do chat around. So that friendship that you build over this journey is really precious, and also like it will keep you motivated. You also like split topics among your team and prepare accordingly. Like I know what my strength is, my weakness is. I know my teammates' strength and weakness. So whenever I see a problem, I know that this problem should go to him and that problem should come to me. So these are there. So that team dynamics is also an interesting thing in ICPC. I personally feel that like a solo champion might go into ICPC, but if you are really good with your team, that is also like a great way to get into ICPC, like to World Finals as well.
No, I think a bonus cookie is that you get to build a good camaraderie, as you said, and get to have memories that are going to stay with you for a very long period of time in your life. Yeah, this is something very precious. Question, yeah. So what are interview rounds at big tech companies like? Maybe you would want to talk us through the process of
so like let me give you a good perspective about this. Like this is actually a very interesting question. I think a lot of people have a perception about just interviews, so I'm going to give you like a quick rundown on what kind of happens. Okay, like this is actually, I think if somebody is starting out right now, it would help them really well. So when you start out, right, some companies do had an initial phone call round which they talk, and just some HR calls you and they just ask you basic questions, and then just gives you some next let's you go to the next round. It's very simple. It's just basics of CS that is getting asked. Next you have two different rounds. One is coding round that happens sometimes even on campus, even off campus. They send you a coding test link and then you give that coding test, and then there is an interview round. So I personally feel that nowadays there is a drastic change in the scenario of coding tests that is happening nowadays. That is you see that more of the CP concepts that are there in in the competitions, they are getting seeped into the coding tests, right? The coding tests are getting created more like a CP contest, and the ideas that are being used in algorithm that are being used to solve those are actually CP concepts, CP algorithmic techniques that are prevalent in competition, in competitions. So if you're doing CP, you are much more prepared to crack those tests. Interviews, I feel for some companies they are difficult, and for that you need CP. For other companies, what there is like they are standard questions. Like you can check up sites like LeetCode. I think that is like pretty standard and is really good for interview related questions. So there is a difference in psychology how coding test gets created, how interviews get created. Interviews are taken by persons who are already there in industry, so they have themselves prepared some questions back when they were kind of getting into, and they know that particular stuff, and they generally ask questions from that their knowledge. So whatever question interested them back then, they ask that, and it's generally standard and already has been added to sites like LeetCode also. And when you go to coding tests, they are getting prepared by companies like HackerRank, HackerRot, or these companies. And what they end up doing is like they hire a lot of people who are essentially really good at CP, and they kind of create like a kind of knowledge base of questions. So from there, the questions get selected and are getting added to coding tests. So essentially the questions that are coming up in coding tests now, they are kind of becoming more of CP. And nowadays, like you will have to solve that extra like good medium hard question to kind of get shortlisted into the interview round. So nowadays I think CP is becoming more and more important than before. So earlier, if you had asked me that do I need to do CP to get into big companies 4 years back, I would have said no. If you ask me today, I think if you want a good chance, then yes, it's like more relevant now. So that coding test is like more like kind of difficult and requires CP than the interviews, I personally feel.
And I believe that it's also a huge filtering factor to move to the next.
Yeah. So CP does give you some CV points. Like if you're doing competitions, you get the ranks to get added to your CV. You do add your ratings and all in your CV, and it does like obviously you're gonna be better at solving questions in interviews and in coding tests. So like filtration process becomes easier for you. I know some of my friends who are really good at like let's say open source, like they have cracked GSOC and so, but they ended up finding it hard time to crack the company's coding test rather than the interviews, because people generally prepare the LeetCode stuff, which is very standard for interviews, but the coding test generally happens with a question which is pretty like is much harder than those. So that's what I feel is what you should be looking out for. So CP is like one shot that I think I personally feel is the best build in like kind of Indian recruitment scenario as of now, like at least now.
Yeah. And so just looking at the interview process from a whole, including all the technical rounds, all the HR rounds, I believe that in today's session, we also have many participants from second year, third year, fourth year, who would be, including myself, who would be applying for internships of jobs in the coming semesters. So what is this one tip that you would give about the overall interview process that you would like to share, that key?
So there are like, I think 4 things that happens to be important in like this whole process. The 4 C's are basically, you have to be having good, like if you're applying for SD role, CP is important, I think, because you will have to be sitting for coding tests and interviews. Then you have CG, because companies do filter out people based on CG. That's realistic scenario. So companies do see your CG. So maintain that. Then your CV comes into play, wherein you have your points that you have done into things. And the 4th thing that I would say is confidence, that you should have confidence that when you're sitting for interviews, that you are able to crack things. Like even if you are not able to get to the most optimal thing, most optimal solution of a question, if you're confidently saying your solution up till whatever you got to, and you're confidently saying that, okay, I think this is the best I can think of, I'm nothing more is cracked, like coming into my mind, maybe so he will say that, okay, let's move to the next question. Also, even if you're answering everything confidently, that do adds up during the interview, like so to balance out these 4 things, be good at one at least. I would say, suggest that confidence is something, even if you're not good at it, it's perfectly fine. Like not like in SD, it's not the biggest thing. In consulting also, these things do matter a lot. But at least one of the 4 things has to be very high. I personally feel that work on one of those things. Either CP is really good, or CV is really good, or your CGP is really high. So one of these things has to be high. So try to make one of them high. That's what I would suggest.
That's something very valuable. Okay, so moving on to the next question. So just to look at, we just talked about technical interviews and what important role that CP plays. So just to look at from technical perspectives and to cracking them, how much knowledge of DSA/CP is enough? And how much should be done without fail? Like, let's say for suppose I'm not interested in competitive programming, or that's just not my thing. But I want to crack coding interviews. So how much should I cover, and how much if I leave out, it's fine?
Absolutely. So there is no like definitive answer that I can give you in the time frame right now. But what I can say is, like, it's absolutely fine if you don't love CP and you would like to prepare for just for SD roles and want to do CP enough to crack the companies. It's perfectly fine. And a lot of, like, during my tenure when I was teaching, I did get a lot of students whose main goal was to get into finance or, let's say, consulting kind of companies, and they just wanted to have CP, like SD role, as a backup. That I want to make sure that I can crack those STs if I don't get my dream job. Okay, so that is right. A lot of people has this kind of thing. So what I would suggest is that you can go through like the initial any algorithm course that is there, theoretical algorithms course. And for CP, there is no such syllabus as such, but what I would suggest is that the course that I used to teach in AlgoZenith is at 201. So in that, I created that syllabus, right? So that syllabus is exactly what is kind of required for like coding tests or interviews in general. So you can go through that if you want to, because that will that is like enumerative list, right? I cannot really write all the list right now, but that list is really good. So you can go through that list. It will kind of give you what is required for like coding tests and interviews. So that list would be sufficient. And if you want to do, like, there is no enough as such, like even there might be one problem that out of 1,000 problems that I might not also be able to solve in coding tests, but that's very rare, because of, like, I've seen so many problems now that everything like seems to be repetitive now. But the thing is, there are still questions that are getting created new in competitive programming, and once they start seeping into like coding tests, it might be pretty new to even me. So the thing is, enough, like every question, there is no such thing that you will be able to solve every question, but like I think if you're getting to a good rating range, like 1900 kind of stuff in CF and in Codeforces, I think that is like a pretty good range to be in if you want to solve questions without a fail. I mean, you should be able to attempt all the questions in tests.
Right. No, this is very insightful. So we should have at least the basic foundations, or not to say basic, but intermediate foundations of competitive programming. As you said, a 1900 rank would help you a lot in cracking the interviews.
Yep.
Right. So, okay, moving ahead to the next question. we just talked about academics, we talked about the 4 C's. So again, in a little depth, can you explain how important are academics in getting an SDE job, or say even in the future work of an SDE?
Okay, so very honestly, I'm not the best person to get an advice on this one. But the thing is, like I feel when you're doing your like academics, even if let's say you are not really interested in academics like me, like I used to do it towards the end stuff. So I was not very interested in like academics as such. But if you want to do it, what I would suggest is there are few courses that are very important. Like let's say your discrete maths, probability statistics, then there is algorithms, then there are courses like core CS subjects like OS networks, these kind of subjects, which are already known to be very important for interviews as well as for when you get into industry, because when you design stuff you're going to need the basic understanding of these things. So do give attention to those things. It will help you to crack the jobs as well. Apart from that, as long as you have good CG, I think it's fine.
Things roll on. Yeah. So the core CS fundamentals should be, we should definitely focus on that and try to maintain a good GPA or a CGPA.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Okay. So moving ahead. So what is the work culture life at Google like, the work balance, the work-life balance in general? You have also been an intern there and now you're currently a full-time employee. So how has the ride been so far?
So it's like, I think like Google is one of the dream companies for me and for like, I think a lot of people who are also there on call.
Yeah.
So I think like the work-life balance is like one of the best. That's what I think Google is known for. Like it does give you full liberty. They have the concept of this 20% project that you can, if you want to explore something else apart from your main team, you can explore that. In fact, in your main team also, like whatever you do, you get to learn a lot. So learning wise also, it's really great. You get to like explore other stuff, because since Google has such a big domain, that there is always a team that does work in some other any particular domain that you want, that you can think of. Like you can think of IoT, ML, NLP, anything that you can think of. Some team is definitely working on that. And the Google has also this culture of openness where you can always reach out to anyone. If you want to see their work, what they are doing, what they're designing, you can see their design docs also. So like this kind of thing is really good at Google. And in terms of your learning and like culture wise, it's really great. Also, it does have great perks also, like in Google, like they do like have a lot of perks with their like job. So that is also there.
Right. That's a plus point. So are you working remotely, or have you been able to go to the office?
No. I have not yet joined the office yet. So my onboarding was whole remote only. So I'm currently working from home itself.
Right. I believe that is something you must be looking very much forward to.
Absolutely. Like I didn't happen to get like into the Google office anytime, but I have heard that the food and all in the office is really great. So I do feel that is something I'm gonna like devour once I get there. Yeah. Maybe at least for 1-2 months.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. Okay, so moving ahead to the next question. So I think this is a very interesting question to me actually. So how did your peers and the community culture at IIT basically help you, and what we as a community, or say what I as a student can learn from that?
This is actually very interesting, because like one thing that, like I think for CP is one of a sport, is kind of a mental sport only, wherein you have to kind of give in your own practice. So you can see in competitive programming now that there are a lot of people who really do good irrespective of the college. Like there are people who are even 7-star that might not be even in IIT. So there are people who really do it and have the grit to kind of continue through the practice, and they become good really in CP. So right. I feel like CP is the one thing that has the least to do with like kind of being in IIT. But again, that gives you one good thing, is that in my college, there used to be this like code club which used to organize contests that happened like at the start. So when I joined the college, there was this contest hosted by them. And then even like some after that also, there was this code nights contest that used to happen in IIT KGP. So that kind of keeps you that extra like push that, okay, there is something happening, so I can definitely prepare for it and give it and try to win it, something like that. Obviously, like at that stage, you cannot really win it, but because there are people who are senior. Nowadays, like in my college, I know that people are organizing contests and they have prizes for even like first year, second years or so, year-wise prizes and all. So that motivates people to kind of get into the field, at least try it out. Because unless people get to try it out, how would you know that whether it works for me or not, right?
Yeah.
So that's why, like, I think the culture helps. And one thing that you can learn from this is like, try to build up an internal community of people who are CP enthusiasts. This is one thing that works very well, because there are a lot of contests happening in different websites like Codeforces and CodeShip. So there can be a discussion session between people who are interested in that, who are giving those contests. There can be internal contests. Let's say you have a group and people create contest, and so the rest of the people participate, and then someone else will create the next contest and so on. So internal groups can be created like that. And maybe someone who is really good or has already done a lot of CP from the college itself can teach in that session. So I still remember I used to teach workshops, like when I was in my 4th year, I used to teach workshop in my college to the people who are juniors and are like getting started in CP. So that helped, like, at least I hope that helped some of them to kind of get started with CP. So that these things I think do help out. So that is something that can be implemented in general, like setting up community sessions also.
So a constant progress together is that is something that adds a lot of value.
So so we were talking about that motivation factor, right? That in CP that motivation is required. So that sometimes, so for some people, that momentum that builds up in a course or in a particular like community, no, that is I think main for people to get through that particular phase of like persistence through the practice.
Right. I agree, because you see your friends who are constantly pushing themselves, and आपको भी ऐसा लगता है कि नहीं, I should be like them, I should do more. So
yes.
That's really of value, I believe.
Leaderboards and all, like who is doing good, okay, अच्छा इसका leaderboard में rank ऊपर चला गया, मुझे भी अच्छा करना है, मुझे भी like और 2 questions solve करने. So these things do come into play when you are doing CP.
Right. I think this was very valuable. So this is an end of questions from our side. We'll move to the Q&A, and I'll share my screen and I'll open the Q&A session. I'm again dropping the Q&A Pigeonhole link in the chat. Just a second. So please feel free to add your questions. I'll quickly share my screen where so Pigeonhole is basically just a platform, so to speak, Vivek, where people can anonymously ask questions, and I can also vote that, okay, I want this question to be asked first. So we have different questions where different votes are given. So I think let's start with the one which has 20 votes. How to improve skills of solving CP problem or CP questions in less time?
So so this is something I even suggest in general to students, like you can build a discipline for yourself to solve problems. So personally, I am like, you can understand how you solve questions. For let's say I am a person who makes a lot of silly mistakes. I can do good observation stuff, but I am really good at making silly mistakes. So what I built was for myself was I did a lot of built a discipline for myself that I will have a reading time. Then only I will go to an essay or problems, like thinking time, where I'd be thinking about the problem and solving it up on a notebook. And then I would have a small 2 minutes of time, which is called formulate time. Okay. Which means what I'd be doing is I would be thinking how my code is going to look before even writing a single line of code. That I'm going to have this structure, this structure, this structure. A lot of people who do problems, right, they end up wasting a lot of time in like writing something and then realizing, okay, there is some mistake. Let's delete this and then again rewrite something and so on. So it might so be better to kind of give 1 minute at the start itself to kind of structure the code in your mind, rather than like typing things and then deleting it. And then meanwhile, while typing, you're thinking, okay, what should I write next? What should I write next? And so on. So this kind of over the time helps you save a lot of time in a competition, let's say. So this is there. Also, like as you build more knowledge, as you build more like practice, this of course decreases. But in general, these are some, like you can build a discipline. Then you go for, so steps are reading time, simple thinking time. Then you go for formulate, where you think about how my code is going to look. Next, I code it up. And then I go for debug. Obviously, like you're not going to get every code correct in the first time. Then you go for debugging your code. So follow a discipline for yourself that is going to improve your times.
And taking things fundamentally step by step. That first you design the whole thing, whatever that you're trying to do through your code, and then actually coding it out.
Exactly. So I remember I used to do this mistake a lot, that I used to hastily read the code, read the problem, and assume that, okay, this is what is being asked. I just code it up and then realize, okay, something else is being asked. So so these kind of mistakes I used to do. So then I kind of made a discipline for myself. I will check it on sample cases while understanding the question, and then I'm going to code it up. So build a discipline for yourself. Over the time, it's going to save you time rather than like wasting time for you.
The ability to consciously self-improve adds on a lot.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll move on. So the next question is that sometimes we are stuck at a problem. Means we have a solution of ON, but the constraints are such that we have to optimize it to O1 or O of login. What to do in such cases? So just people who are new here or the beginners, and don't know what these terms are, don't worry, eventually you will. So it is not something that you have to panic, and it's just something related to competitive programming. Let's say.
So O of something tells you how good the code is. The smaller the number inside O is, the better your code is. Okay, that's it. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, that was well put.
So we have, let's say I have a worse solution, but the question asks me to optimize it. How do I find the better optimization? So the thing is, let's say you read the problems, right? So this comes with practice only. Like I think a lot of questions answers is going to be practice, but I'm going to not like repeat myself with like a tape recorder. So I'm going to give you except practice what you can do. Okay. So apart from having like these things, so when you know that you need to do better, you basically have enumerative list of things, right? What all topics this question can go into. Like there are obviously a lot of topics there, but again, if you simply think about it, the amount of topics, let's say binary search, dynamic programming, greedy, so the number of topics, if you list them, it might so be that there are 10 such classes, but at least there are 10 classes, right? So you can think about in each one of them and try to go into each one of them. So maybe in a particular problem you are thinking that okay, it might be a dynamic programming solution. It's just a technique name, and in that you see that okay, it's not working, it's coming out a bigger constraint, I cannot really solve it with this. Maybe I can try greedy idea, something might be there. So you try to explore other options as well. Don't get like once you see that my solution is correct, don't get stuck to that particular vision only. Like maybe you have to track back and try to do something else in that problem also. So do see those things, and optimization do comes with practice. Like I think there are standard techniques for different things like segmentary, like you need to know that how to do that particular thing. So that comes with practice a lot.
Right. No, I agree. So also clarity and elimination is something that
elimination is a really important tool. Like this is, I think a lot of, like I used to rigorously like ask all the students in Algorithm to like do this, that you, when you're not able to solve a question, write the 7 techniques name and delete the name, strike it off. So you're going to get to one thing that might work most probably.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So moving on. So next question is how to particularly solve and then after the contest upsolve to gain more rather than in just sake of completion. I think this is something even yeah.
So this is basically like after the contest, you generally, people say that you have to upsolve, which means let's say there was 5 questions in the contest, you could solve 2 questions. So I should solve the next 1 and 2 questions maybe, because they are the things that I could not solve and learn from it. So the thing is, what I generally do is you should have, what I suggest people is you should have a feedback loop wherein you give a contest and you just don't keep giving every contest that is there. Don't use this as an excuse though, but don't try to give every contest and see that, okay, I'm just giving contest, I'm learning nothing. That's not going to help you at all. What you should do is give a contest, realize why you could not solve the next question. Maybe it was deficient in knowledge of a particular topic, number 1. Number 2, that was a really nice trick and I could not see that during the contest. Fine, learn it up and then next time try it again. And if you know that it's some particular topic that you have not yet explored, or there is something to learn in that topic left, go back and practice that up for the next till there is a next contest, and then give the next contest. So use this like a feedback mechanism to kind of improve yourself. That's what you do over that, and over the time you build a lot of knowledge from that. That's what you have to do.
Right. I agreed. Very valuable. So maybe just you could skim through the questions and let's pick up that has not been covered in the talk. So I think this is one. I often get leaderboard anxiety. Am I a beginner? How do I overcome it? So I think we have gone over it, that we should have the level of persistence, or say
so one more thing I can say, like if you are really concerned, so this is one trick I can give you, not very ethical, I mean maybe, but like if you're very conscious about your ratings or so, use multiple accounts. Don't really worry about that, like have 2 accounts participate. So what you can do is, if you're really conscious that my account's rating will get down and you are like out of fear, a lot of people have this is a really psychological problem. A lot of people really face this. So what I would suggest is that maybe you can have 2 accounts and always participate with the account with the lower rating. As long as you don't get that too higher, don't keep persist with that account. So you will not face that, okay, I always have account which is higher rating. No problem in that. If it's too, after all, it's the learning that is important, right? It's not your rating that is going to be the bigger thing. So don't really worry about that too much.
Yeah. So maybe just any question that you'd like to pick up, or
okay. So maybe maybe you can skip questions through. So first one is, I think we can skip. Is there a roadmap which is to begin to follow? So as I said, learned language, STL, then algorithms course alongside solving basic problems, and then moving towards applications of algorithms. That's the stages in which you should go through.
Right.
You can you can follow the structure of any course also if you want to. How to improve CP in lesser time. So there is no shortcut here. I mean, there is no shortcut to things. It will take time. You cannot really be, so if you ask me how to become 7-star in 1 month, I cannot give you any recipe for that. I don't have like magic pill that can make you that. So it's proper practice. According to you, the future of coding in this world, is there enough needs of programming, or one has to do something else, start out of box to make a career? Obviously do other things. Yeah, I mean, I personally, so please don't like feel this that like a lot of people think that, okay, I am good at CP, so I would say that okay, CP is the only thing that you should be doing. Absolutely no. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of interesting fields, and find out what is kind of resonating with your personality and try to go into that. Like I really recently, like now after doing CP for a long time, I started exploring more. So I recently started learning a bit about finance. I started learning a bit about stocks, and so I started learning about a bit of education. So I really am someone who really enjoys teaching. So I do teach at Algorithm for that purpose only. Like I really get the enjoyment out of teaching people. So that is so, and like do explore things out. Yeah, man. I mean, it's not absolutely required for programmers to be there, but I think opportunity wise, there is going to be enough opportunity in future as well. I mean, if you're really good at it, you will get the like place. So that's why it's good to invest in this skill, because if you are good, you will get the opportunity. That is
right. Yeah. So you have to be on the top of your game, because it's the survival of the fittest. So whatever skill set that is, you have to.
So there still in software, you still get jobs, right? So there are a lot of fields that has been saturated a lot, and still a lot of people try to get into that. So that sometimes is really like problematic, because so many people are trying. Even in programming it's there, but still jobs are there also, right? In other fields, like some fields they have got saturated, and still people try to hustle for that. So that's where like you should try to play smart a bit. So that's why it is a good option. That's why people keep SD as a backup as well, for those even who are trying other fields. Like, but still it's up to you, like what resonates with you better, do that. But that's absolutely there.
Right. So as a beginner, what would you suggest to start from? And please suggest
C++.
The first language.
Okay.
So C++, or and some course that you would suggest, or some websites or blogs that one should check out.
So you can go through any particular course. What I generally suggest is there is this channel like, if you are good with any other language, like I think I don't generally have thought about starting out from a particular like absolute basic. But if you are, let's say, starting out, let's say you are Java programmer and I want to get into CP, how to do that? Or let's say I do know a bit of programming, I just know how for loops and stuff work. So go through this particular channel, Derek Banas. There is a channel called Derek Banas, and there is this C++ in one video, kind of C++ in one video, which is of 2 hours, I think. Watch through that, you will know enough basics of language, and rest would be just solving questions and googling what you need for that particular language. Learn in an applied way, you will retain much longer than just going through some theoretical book and going through them. I personally feel that solving questions and meanwhile learning them retains the things much longer. So do that. Also recommend do some course in beginner level coding stuff. Yeah, if you're looking for a course, I would definitely pitch in Algorithms, because there I have taught in, and I personally believe that it's really good. Like if you want to go through in a structured way, but like there are 2 ways. Like think about this. I'm never saying that course is absolutely necessary for doing CP. You can do it even independently. So you have course is not like absolutely necessary, and in beginner level, absolutely not. Start with a language, C++, and start with programming a bit. Don't really get into like I will have to find a course only, then only I will be successful in life. It's not like that. Life, like the learning has been open a lot now. But if you're looking for a course, then you can check out the AZ201. It's a really nicely created course. Like I like, not just because I have created that and teaching that, it's because I personally believe that the structure is really well, and people have got a lot of like improvement in that.
Yeah. So talking about the course, Rohan, one of the members from the committee, he has shared a link in chat. So should I just quickly open it, and maybe you could sort of just confirm whether this is what the course is?
So this is Algorithms 201. So this is basically a course wherein like this is live course, so I do teach out over here, and this is basically like a training which starts, like it is not really from the very basics, like absolutely zero language, like you have never done programming in life, then this is not the starting course. But if you are like, let's say, preparing for internships and placement, and you have done some programming, like very basic C++ and stuff, and any language, okay, and then you want to start out in a structured way, then this is the thing. In fact, do check out the syllabus, like in that, like you will get that topic list I was talking about, like what all things are there in the interviews that you have to prepare, so that will help you to prepare the things, right?
Right. So that also lays a roadmap for one.
That is also good. Exactly. So this is like a good way. Like you don't join the course, but you get the roadmap.
Yeah.
So that is there. So that would help. And in general, like if you like courses is good, because what I personally feel is the doubt support matters sometimes, because like at the starting phase you get a lot of doubts, like how to do this correctly and all, and in this question how to solve this, and like if you have a friend and all who is really good, then it's fine. But I think that is the part which restricts a lot of people to get really good fast, and that's where like courses do better. That's what I have been seeing recently. Like personally, I did not do any course by myself, so I did not know that courses would help someone or not. But once after teaching here, then I realized that okay, actually people are getting really good quicker, because they are getting that constant source of motivation, constant source of like momentum with the class, and like the problem techniques are really good. Like it's like kind of collective of all techniques that are generally used to create problems. So that's why it kind of works really well.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree to that. Sometimes it happens that we see editorials and then it seems that we need to push ourselves and then we just leave it.
Yeah, so there are some questions that are outside the, like too much outside the comfort zone. Don't go for those. Like there are some questions which are like absolutely outside my comfort zone. So if I go ahead and start seeing the last question of every code versus contest, of Div 1 contest, it might be even outside the comfort, like a possibility for even me. It might so be. So there is always some questions that you can not solve at your current level. Maybe mark it off and then come back to them later on when you are really a bit better. Right. And in fact one of my like YouTube channels video, I talked about this concept that you can make a sheet and you can keep track of which all questions you're solving and you are not solving, and what techniques you learned in them. So that will help you to even revise later on, that you can like keep marking that this is the question, this is the technique that I learned, and did I code it? Yes, no. Did I solve it on my own? Yes, no, and so on. You can track time, but I don't do that. But you can also track how much time it took you to solve this for the first time, and so these also help you to later on track your progress.
It acts as a good documentation of what you're doing. That will help out.
I use that. I started using that later on, but it did help me in my revisions in general. Also in like interview preparation, I used to like track which so I used to solve only hard lead code problems. By that time I was good in CP. So but I did track that which questions took me time, which has like absolutely novel idea and I cannot really think of it on my own. You have to know this idea or else you cannot solve it. So these kind of things do come in handy.
Right. Apart from CP, did learning any of the frameworks help you in acing interviews, or would you suggest that CP is sufficient if one is too good at it? So by framework, I mean the web dev frameworks, so say ML, or I mean open source, other things.
So if that is in your CV, yes, you would be asked about them. So I have seen like more than 500 people get, like I have got the feedbacks of people, more than 500 people who I have taught, who sat for interview. So if you have a particular, like let's say web dev project in your CV, you would be asked question about that, and in that case it will come into place. For me, I did not had a lot of like web dev project. I had some ML and NLP projects, and other was CP related stuff, and my internship that I did apart from that. So these were the things. So I did not had a web framework, so I cannot say from my experience that is there, but people like do write their like web projects. Like there are people who wrote, let's say I have created this front end part and the back end part is like coming from, let's say like I did a simple Django project from front to end, both full stack development I did, and then I added that to my, as a self project, I added it to my CV. That works well, and a lot of interviews do ask question on that. So you will have to know this. So let's say you're writing Angular, they will ask how does routes and components work, and here a lot of things they will ask about you in that particular system, just to check that whether you're actually have done or you have copy pasted the code from GitHub or not. So that's there. So these things will be there. So do write things, but if you should have one good spike in your CV. Like if for me CP was that, it might be that your dev is too strong and you are able to crack the interviews, then it's fine. If your dev is too strong, then you should be able to crack the interviews.
This is very, very insightful. So what is your role at Google? Could you tell us more about what a typical SDE does?
Very good question. In fact, I can guarantee you that maximum students in India don't really know what the roles are in companies and what they do after joining companies. I'm pretty sure that happens. Like in any industry you can pick, like SD is very common. Still people don't know that. Like forget about the rest of the roles. So in SD, what you have is different kind of roles. For me, I am working in Google Cloud, which is like if you just go to, let's say, Gmail and on this cloud search. So in the Gmail, if you go ahead and type some search on the top, so the backend team which serves those requests, I'm in that team's infrastructure team. So, so there is like different components where you do analytics and stuff, where you do ML part to rank those things and all those stuff, search related stuff and all those things. So that is the portion where I'm working, obviously. And my like day-to-day life would be something like you have a big project, some feature that you want to enable in Google. So that on that particular thing I'm working on. Or let's say if there is some like let's say problem in code, there are some bugs then that you get assigned to resolve. Then there are on-call duties. Let's say you have like during this day something on the actual binary like gets crashed, then in that case you'll have to resolve that in that time. So these are the kind of typical roles SG have in the company.
Right.
In fact, I would encourage everybody to kind of try to read about more such roles in general, like what roles are in different companies and what they do. It's actually interesting to know about them.
Yeah. No, I agree. Then you also get a lot of options to decide from that what your interest line. So the horizon broadens a little.
Absolutely.
So I think we talked about the demotivated part. So skipping that, when should one ideally start with CP? Koi prerequisite ya course ya you feel help kickstart the journey? I think we also dived a little into this, but if you want to add something.
Start like the earlier start, the more time you'll have. But if you want to just do it for internships and placement, I think 4 to 6 months is fair enough time to give to CP to be enough to crack companies. Right. If you want to do that.
Right. One issue that every student faces at some point is should one do competitive programming or development? What are your thoughts on this?
If you're earlier in your college life, like let's say in your first year or the starting or second year, try both and choose for yourself. If you are later on, then I would say go for CP, because that enables you to crack interviews and the coding test. But if you just do the dev, right, you will still have to do some interview preparations and CP stuff apart from that. And if you're not really good at that, at the shortlisting process, right, you will get problem. So that's why so this is not really what I like. I don't really align with this particular. This is not really good, but sometimes I feel that people who are really good at dev get a bit problem in like getting shortlisted into big companies, because the selection process is like that they kind of bit prefer like the questions that are there in the selection test is more like a CP question. So what can anybody do? So you will have to prepare that stuff, and other people are able to solve it, and you are not getting shortlisted only. So that is the problem. So that's why I would suggest CP personally.
Right. Which programming language that is done? C++. Continuous contest plus solving or learning a topic and practicing the questions about them, or solving questions in order of difficulty and learning concepts on the go. Which approach?
So the thing is, give contest, upsolve, learn which topic you could not solve, till the next contest, solve that topic, give the next contest. That's the order.
Yeah, right.
When you're solving that topic, you can go by order of difficulty, whichever you feel right. Like you can solve some particular platform, some particular playlist if you want to do, but like during that topic phase, you can do by difficulty. When in contest, upsolve, understand which topic you are weak at, go to that topic, improve, come back to next contest, repeat.
Right. And what about someone who is just starting out, say just
so starting out, don't keep any expectations, learn language, just keep giving contest, and like start with some theoretical algorithms course. That will, as I said, that is one mistake I did. If you start with it, it will help you a lot to get to know what is there. Because if you don't know what dynamic programming means or DP means or greedy means, how can you solve a question that uses it?
How can exactly?
So
exactly.
that is
agreed. What kind of problems are there in CP? Any example? I think this is a good question for beginners out there who would want to know exactly what happens in the world.
Okay. So what kind of problems are there in CP? Really interesting one. So if you guys have, so most of you would have studied maths in general in your 12th. So maths is a good topic to like understand what CP is. So it's very close to actually maths, to be honest. CP is more like mathsy stuff. But like, let's say if I had to pick a problem, so let's say you have let's say there are like classes happening in your university, and there are like time slots every professor is giving, that okay, I want to take my class from 9 to 11, I want to take my class from 10 to 12, and so on. So every prof has a requirement, and based on this the university has to schedule that, okay, how many classrooms do I require to like essentially manage every professor, so that everybody ends and then somebody starts. What is the minimum number of rooms I need? This can be one interesting problem. There are many such problems, like every algorithm problem, like shortest path from one road to other place, Dijkstra's algorithm, which is very standard, used in maps also. So these kind of things are like very common use cases of algorithms. So this is what is asked in CP, and they are more like a like puzzly twist are given to these problems. That's what is there in CP.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of mathematical, logical approach.
Logical things. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a second. How should one approach a question in regular short contest? What should be the thinking strategy during the contest?
So it's very difficult. Like, so there is no thinking strategy. Is like listing observations is one thing that you can do, and then it mostly like is you explore different topics. As I said, eliminate the topics and then try to explore every topic, whatever you have seen. Does it relate to something similar before or not? Mostly like I think answering this question in depth might take me 2 hours. So like, how do you think strategy? And in fact, like I was like right now writing few days back, writing a like I'm thinking of writing this blog, which is how generally mind works when you're solving question, like how CP mind works. So maybe that would get out sometime. So I will add that. I will maybe send you guys
forward. Looking forward to that. But I think this also, as you mentioned, varies from person to person, and go step by step, designing the whole thing and then coding it out. Is something
that discipline thing you can try building for yourself. It really works. It really works.
Right. What are the languages and concepts we need to learn before taking part in CP? So I guess,
so before taking part, without any expectations, you can jump into the thing. But the thing is, if you like, जैसे बोलते हैं ना, if you get into like अगर आप अखाड़ा में उतर रहे हो, आपको पता है कि कुछ आता ही नहीं है, तो मतलब you are only going to get depressed. So don't do that. Learn a bit of algorithms, practice in virtual ways, and so, and then get into the real contest. It's fine. So as long as you don't keep high expectations, you are not going to be like facing that problem. But just give it some time.
No, I agree. So another question is, what is one? Okay, so what if one is not progressing in CP, and after a long time giving time to CP, what should one do to excel in CP, and what are the prerequisites for being good?
There is no prerequisite as such. I mean, I think like when you say good on CP or CF, like if you want to reach my level, I don't think you need anything prerequisite. It's almost all hard work. Okay.
Right.
But what like it does take a long time. Even for me, it took a long time, and does take a long time. And it's not same for all. But if you are stuck at a particular level for a very long time, most probably you're doing something wrong, which is like, let's say, the CP world works in this way, that there are different topics that are there, and if you try to push one topic too high and still the questions in a competition are coming from other topics, you're not going to get the benefit. So you're going to be stuck in a particular thing. So try to lift all the topics equally, number one. Number two, it might be that you're not following proper discipline and you're wasting too much time during contest. That is, time management is poor for you, or there might be other problems similarly. So you're not doing something right. Try to figure out why you could not do it. Like, don't just give contest, try to introspect what is going wrong. That will help you to improve.
Yeah, and I believe this also would apply to intermediate programmers out there who say have a rank of expert or specialist on Codeforces. And I believe you must have also faced a point where everything is stuck. कुछ आगे गाड़ी आगे जा ही नहीं रही. So I think
there is this gap in 1600 1700 range जहाँ से 1900 जाना पड़ता है, and that particular gap is pretty high. Like, it looks like 200 rating, like 1400 to 1600 and 1600 to 1800 is not same. The thing is, it looks like 200 rating jump, but it's not. It's actually more like 3 to 4 times tougher than the previous 200 rating.
Right.
So it's like, because you are actually going to solve one new question in a contest, and consistently being able to do that means that for every topic you know the questions of that particular level, and it's not easy. So it takes time. That's what I was talking about, that you have this. So there is this particular theory, maybe I can send out a YouTube link, like I did make a video. So there is this hills and plateau region kind of graph that happens in CP. Don't expect anything other than that. If you're not like you're gonna hit plateaus, and then you have to wait till the next hill. That
next hill. Yeah. constant endurance is the key, basically. If I were to take one
So
thing.
this is one field that needs a lot of consistency. Like, you will have to keep doing, and that's why friends matter. Like, keep good friends who are motivating you.
Right. You may have had plenty of opportunities other than Google.
Nice.
What was your thought process behind finally choosing Google? This is something even I am interested in. So where all did you apply, and how did you say?
So very honestly speaking, like by the time I was in there, I knew that I was good at programming, but I still wanted to keep a room for more exploration and all. I still wanted to try more things. Like let's say I did do NLP, but I don't really know that it might be the only field that I can go into. So I did had some more opportunities that was possible to do, and also there was also room for applying off campus other here and there, but I did not go for that because I know that in Google the work culture is so that you have good time, and inside Google only you have so much opportunity, so many teams, so many different opportunities, like so many different avenues to explore, that even without going into other company I can internally also explore more stuff. So that was the main reason why I chose Google above other things.
Right. So the learning curve is also great in
yes.
Google, basically. Yeah.
Yes. So in basically the number of avenues that you can explore internally in Google is very high. Like in other companies, startups, it might so be that in one vertical, let's say just in web dev, you are learning very, very strictly, but you cannot really go to NLP because that company doesn't do anything in NLP, right?
Right.
So in Google, that is there. Like you can try and explore everything that you want to.
Can we use IDEs in interviews and STL and inbuilt functions? So
IDEs, it is fixed by the company. As STL and inbuilt functions, yes, you can use. Right. But except the question is itself that implement a map and you are saying, okay, I'm using inbuilt map. That doesn't work. Except that everything works.
Yeah. So I think maybe we have time left for two or three questions more. So maybe you could skim through and say.
Okay, let me do. How to tackle DP problems. There is a video on that also. I will send this. So I have a YouTube channel. Do check it out. There are some of these questions that I've already answered on that particular channel. So do check those videos out. How many career options are there? Okay, CSC programming language. Just a sec. Let me just skim this throughout. Best application for CP. Best application. You solve contest problems. That's the best application. Any specific language that can focus more? The C++ is fine. Yeah, I mean for CP. If you want to do in general, I think Python is pretty good to start with. If you want to just do in general dev or stuff, like you get enabled in every other thing. Like ML and all is fine. You can do Django if you want to do web or stuff. Everything is there. Right. So that is there. Any other question? Let's see. Tackle DP. I've made a video. Career options that are there in doing in CSE. Yeah, you don't need to do like only software if you have to, but after CSE you have multiple options here. If you want to do, you can get into ML and stuff. That is one thing. You can go into higher research. That is another thing. You can go into IoT, web dev, Android development, like proper dev stuff. That is there. Also, if you want to do, you can get into other stuff like teaching things. Like I didn't really know that these kind of industry do exist, but like actually like education industry is also there. If you want to get into teaching stuff, that is also there. If you want to like explore more like research stuff, though there are kind of research kind of work happening in CSE as well. So that is also something you can look at. A lot of my friends do enjoy that. Even I did enjoy that for theoretical algorithms section, but I was not really sure that I would be able to commit to studying more. Or padhai nahi hoga mere se. So I left that option long back ago.
I also believe that there are management positions also after roles.
So even in like, let's say companies like Google or other companies, what happens is that after some time you can choose, like if you want to go into this managerial line or you want to go into deep tech, like you're only going to be doing tech or so.
Right.
Like, you can also explore product management if you want to during the CSE. So like engineering enables you to do everything.
Everything. Yeah. So maybe I think we have time for a last question that you would like.
Okay,
let's see what we've missed. And
okay, maybe last question. I can give the last question myself. That so like how many of you guys are planning to do CP after this? कि लग रहा है कि CP important है?
Feel free to write in the chat.
Chat पे लिखो यार. Zoom. I mean, I'm fine. I'm fine with like getting any kind of reviews also. Okay. So do it. Don't like overburden yourself. कि मतलब एकदम करना ही पड़ेगा. It's not like that. But do explore it. I mean, I personally felt that right now in India, it's like one of the better builds that will help you to enable all through the industry, and you can actually explore that out. And like the only advice I will give, as already a senior in this particular field, is like don't expect much at the start. If you keep your expectations low, you're gonna go far in the field. Okay, so that's what I would suggest. If you do that correctly, you are going to be doing good. Okay.
I think this was very valuable. Thank you, Vivek, for joining us, giving us your time. And for me, it was a huge learning experience. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone who stayed for coming here. I believe you guys also got a lot to learn and, a lot of value to get. So once again, from Programming Club and from Ahmedabad University, I thank you for being here and sparing your time. Maybe Amit sir, if you want to just say.
Thank you very much, Vivek, for making the time. It was really inspiring and insightful.
Yeah.
And I'm sure our students loved it. And thank you, organizers, for spotting and bringing Vivek to us. And thank you everybody else for joining. So thank you one and all. And if you have any questions, Vivek, I will probably reach out to you if I have anything to ask.
Sure, that's perfectly fine. Like I think you can also send the LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn is one place that I definitely check every day. So that is one place that you can reach out to me. Anybody who is willing to reach out to me.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So that's it from our side. Yeah.
So please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that's it from our side. We reached to an end of today's session. And once again, we are humbled by your presence here, Vivek. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.